Hello everybody, this is Alley Cat here. I'm going to go over how I make the puppy puppet from the series Adventure in Animal-ville. Now you can see here, this is what the final puppy looks like when he's on my hand. It's actually kind of simple. You're going to start with a pair of gloves, some needle and thread. I got some googly eyes, some scissors. This here is a paint pen. I use that to put the little black paw pads and his face on. Got the white felt patch and a little bit of pink for his tongue, some fill to fluff his head up, and a completely optional, but I like to use it to secure the eyes, hot glue gun. So let's get started. Alright, the very first thing I do is just take my scissors and I'll cut a circle out of the glove so it looks like that. I like to cut the very bottom off first. Then I just kind of cut a circle. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's the puppy's head. It's not gonna be. And then you have two sides here, which you'll turn inside out and use to start sewing his head together. One important thing to remember is to just save the rest of that glove. As you can see here on our puppy, we used two of the fingers for ears, we used part of one for a snout, and we're going to use a fourth finger for the tail. So I just started sewing this up, as you can kind of see here. I like to start down here. This is going to be his neck. I'm going to sew it up to about here, and then I'm going to put his two ears in, inside out, and sew around the top of the head until here. Remember to leave this open so that you can stuff your stuffing in and fill up the puppy's face. Okay, as you can see, I've cut the index and the ring finger of the glove to try and keep the ears even. This is about the length I like to use. Of course, you can change it depending how long you want his ears to be. Now I sew it up around to the tip of the head, and I just tuck it in like this, and then I'll sew up the ends. Just try to be careful with the corners, because when you flip it inside out, you don't want them to be sticking out. Alright, I know this looks a little weird, but I just wanted to flip this right side out so you can see how the ear is attached. Okay, so now I have both his ears attached, and I turned them back right side out. You can see I left the neck open because I'm going to stuff them. And what I like to do is put the finger in through the snout. Gives him a little more oomph, and it keeps his head a little closer to his body. Otherwise his head comes out way too far. One thing I forgot to mention is make sure you stuff your ears before you sew them on. I forgot to do that at first. So I had to cut them open on the inside and restuff them and resew them. So yeah, just make sure you have everything set before you sew things shut. Alright, I determined which side I wanted to be his face and which side is going to be the back of his head, which is that. I put a little black dot here. I don't know if you can see it very well, but that's going to be where I'm going to snip a very small hole. I'm going to attach the very tip, the pinky finger, nice and skinny there, the pinky finger glove, about that much, just to give him a little bit of a snout. It's going to stick out from his face. And that's where your middle finger is going to press up against when you wear them as a glove. Alright, I turned it inside out again, and I stuffed all the little frillies up into the inside of the head, so they're kind of sticking out at you. It's hard to tell, I know. And now I'm just going to sew around the edges, and then he's going to have a nose. Okay, so here we have the puppy with his nose sewn on. And you can see it protrudes out just a touch more than the last one, but that's okay. It's alright to be different. So now what we're going to do is we're going to stick on his eyes. We're going to paint on his face, and we're going to stick on his tongue. Now this is where you might want to start warming up the hot glue gun, because you want to hot glue his eyes and his tongue on. For the puppy, I like to use really big googly eyes. The big eyes kind of make him look a little innocent, a little funny. And to make his face, you're just going to draw a line, starting on one side of his nose across. Draw his nose right at the tip, and then just draw a short little line connecting. And if it's not perfect, don't worry. You can use the tongue to kind of hide any little boo-boos you make. So let's stick his face together and see how it comes out. Alright, and with those few little touches, that plump of fabric has suddenly become a very silly looking puppy. Now we're just going to stuff his head, and then we'll move on to putting his body together. Okay, now the next step is to determine which hand the puppet's going to go on. If you want to use more than one puppet, it's important to try and keep one on each hand. So if the glove's like this, it's for a right-handed one. And by doing this, it becomes a lefty. Now this puppy is going to be right-handed, so we're going to want to attach his head like that, roughly. When attaching the puppet's head, you want to stick your finger through all the way to the nose. Right here, that's my finger. His neck's going to come down almost to the back joint of your finger, well past the knuckle. And his neck will be attached right around your first knuckle joint. Now, you could either sew this on by eye, or what I prefer is to sew it on while you're wearing it. Just be careful you don't poke yourself with the needle. And your final step would be to take whichever you prefer of the remaining digits and just kind of hot glue it, or preferably sew it, of course. A little more durable if you sew it on. And you just kind of sew on his tail a little bit above the collar of the glove. So it puts it right down by his butt. And the final detail we're going to add on, as you can see here, is his little white patch, which doesn't show up at first, but if he gets dirty it really shows up. And then we're just going to take the paint pen, we're going to paint on his little paws, his little pads, rather. And we're just going to take 3 big circles, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 little dots on either side. It's going to go on all 4 paws, and then he'll be completely done. Here we have puppy 1 and puppy 2. Obviously the dirtier one is the original, but as you can tell, our clone came out pretty good. So now you know how to make your own Animal-ville puppet. Of course, each puppet's different, such as the turtle and the bunny, but the basic animal is this right here. So have fun, and if you make anything, let me know.